Myself Vaibhav. In today's session of Visual JForex, I will be explaining to you the use of component block named custom trailing step. This is an component block which you can utilize to set the trailing stop loss. Many a times when we see that our taken position has reached in profit and we want to revise its stop loss to the price which is higher than the open price in case of the long position, and if we have the open position which is short, then we want our stop loss to be revised lower than the open price, and then trail it to the extent possible where as long as the position is moving in our direction, our desired trading direction, and we want the trailing to happen and stop loss to be revised while following the increasing profit. In such scenarios, we can take the help of this component which is included under the trading components. Here it is, second one, custom trailing stop. We also have the description provided to us, so anytime you feel confused you can access these and try to understand it in details. I will be giving you few examples of how we can incorporate these in our algorithms. So here we have to define these parameters, and then this will do our job of following the trade price and revising the stop loss as and when required depending on the conditions which we have set. Okay, now let us head to the Visual JForex board developed by Dukascopy Bank SA. You will find this to be included under the trading components. It is second. Now coming to its input parameters, we have to first define the position for which we want the custom trailing stop loss to be in work. So first thing is we will need the position viewer. Whenever we are defining the position to be followed, we will need the position viewer, which we will find in logical components. Here it is. We are not really building a new algorithm at a full scale. I am just trying to demonstrate to you how we can utilize this. We are assuming that we already have a functional algorithm in place, and all we now need to do is add the custom trailing stop. So for this we will take I will join this somewhere here. The start point will be on tick for today's session, and then default variable, okay, position info. We will take all the open positions here and we will write this as xyz, yz. Okay, this will be our current position. Now we have created this. And also we will need to define, whenever we are using the trailing stop system, we also have to make sure whether the position is long or position is short. So we have to pay attention to these minor details also. We are going to take xyz as our position for which we will define the custom trailing stop, and the job becomes easier for us. All we have to do is take the integer value in pips. Suppose if we are working with the Euro USD and we want our trailing stop to be 10 pips lower than the current value, then all you have to do is take this second input and modify it to 10, and you will have the trailing stop system defined at 10 pips. Now comes the harder part. First we have to set conditions, the fulfillment of which will be required before this custom trailing stop can be triggered. And instead of building a new. I will be explaining to you using my existing algorithm. This is a full-scale algorithm. We will only look at its trading setup here. So let me zoom out a bit so that I can show it all. This is a big setup. We also have this algorithm defined and designed by side, and this is the trailing setup. I have not gone for the custom trailing stop, and instead of that I have defined the trailing step using ATR value, and because of that it is more complex. But when we are using the custom trailing stop, it becomes a lot simpler. All we have to do is define whether the position is long or not. So we have to set these conditions. We have to make sure that the trailing system will be only closing the positions for the defined instrument. So we have to match the instrument also. And then comes the question of setting up the required parameters both for the long as well as short positions, which we have to do separately. This side is when the position is long, and this side is when the trade is on the short sell side. We have to define some parameters like what should be the barrier. The barrier is the point at which the stop loss will be revised from the default stop loss to the new trailing step stop loss, and this can happen anytime after the price has moved a sufficient distance. So you have to define the new stop loss, the trailing step, which will be, in case of the short sell trade, it will be lower than the open price, and in case of the long trade it will be higher than the open price. So the new trailing stop will be revised and it will be put in place. So there are some parameters, and the first thing is that we have to make sure that the current price has moved sufficient distance. For that we have to rely on our trailing step also. We have to add it to the current tick price for the short sell trade, and see if it is still lower than the open price. If it is, then we can use this custom trailing stop. So I won't really be able to use this whole setup in today's session, as we will be short on time. But we have to see that whenever we are using the custom trailing stop, our job will be to define the required conditions, after the fulfillment of which the custom trailing stop will come into play. So we have to see, and I will try to explain to you with one example here. So let me explain to you on the short sell side. Now when the open price is more than the stop loss price, that is after the barrier has revised the price, and now the stop loss price is already lower than the open price, we want the trailing step to start working. And at this point in time we have to define the trailing stop, which we have defined here by 10 pips. The custom trailing step is of 10 pips now, and what we do is we also check whether the open price of the current position has moved more than 10 pips, and if it has, then only the trailing step will start working. So we check that first condition, and then we also want the stop loss to be greater than the difference between the tick price and the custom trailing step. So stop loss, whenever it is greater than the difference of custom trailing step and the tick price, we will continue. And then comes the last point. So here, when we are using the custom trailing stop, instead of working with the set stop loss, we can straight away take this block. Now it is taking a bit more time. Okay, so here we have got this, and we can now set this block and direct this flow from this conditions to directly here, and then we can define the position and the trailing step which we want, and then the default stop loss. So here we can use this block for making the trade system more profitable, and you can keep your position open as long as the trend reversal doesn't happen, and you will see that this custom trailing stop will work day in day out, so you don't have to monitor your positions, the trades which are open and are in profit, so there won't be any anxiety, and you can if that's a night time, you can sleep easy. So that's how you can work with these custom trailing stop, and it is a bit more complex and bit demanding, but once you start working with it, the you will see its utility and the benefit it offers. So that's it from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write to me in the feedback section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Thank you all for joining in. Do subscribe to the Dukascopy webinar channel. Goodbye.